We know we're going to have some of our brothers and sisters come in.
And then they'll have it. Awesome. All
Yeah.
right. So awesome. We will not penalize the people who showed up on time. We will get started. It's about 4 minutes after the 7 o'clock hour. Thank you, Mr. Neely, and the whole board and the members of the St. Anne's Episcopal Church for having me and my father, Mr. Robert Henderson Jr., certified financial planner and president and founder of the Henderson Financial Group. Should I introduce you? I already did, huh?
You already did, daughter. My daughter, that's some youth, that's some young people, daughter. Sherry did, but you did a good job.
Well, thank you.
Been doing
Thank
this for 40 years. I just had a birthday, turned 67 years old, and yeah, like I said, I'm drinking plenty of water and using that Vaseline.
Yes, it's working. Keep doing what you're doing. And I am Hyacinth Henderson. I've been here for 23 years.
It was
I
24.
23, 24. I've been
Yeah.
here a long
Since he
time.
was 20 years old.
I was 20. And so here I am. I am a licensed investment advisor representative, a stockbroker, an annuity insurance broker, a mortgage loan originator, all of those things. What I enjoy most is educating our people and explaining stuff in an easy to understand manner. That is really what I am passionate about. We have a saying here at the Henderson Financial Group that we break things down like a 6-year old. And we find that as things are always changing, there's so much for us to learn. We have AI and everything changing and stretching our brains. One of the most important things we can do is talk about money and personal finances and financial planning in an easy to understand way. Don't you say?
Yes, I like that. That's exactly our motto. We break it down to you like
Mm-hmm.
a 6 year old or even a 96-year-old. We really demystify this
Demystify.
whole world of finance. We don't really like talking over people's head and using all the terminologies and vocabulary that most people, lay people, don't understand. We like to break it down. Like my grandma said, "Boy, what you talking about, boy?" You know. So we talk on that level just so you can understand. And in the way we talk to you, we try to paint pictures, metaphors, and parables, and we use that just to get a picture in your head because I think that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Sometimes words get in the way most of the time because we found that in three areas of our lives that they use words and terminology that most of us don't understand. One is the legal field. A lot of the legal jargon, you go to court or talking to an attorney and he object and he sustain and all this, and you don't really know what's going on. But if you say one wrong thing, man, they can lock you up for a long time. you know. So that's the legal field. Mr. Neely knows about that.
Mhm.
Criminal field, that terminology, boy, can really be shocking and misunderstood by most lay people. The other area that they really use a lot of terminology and words and mess you up is those the medical field.
Mhm.
The terminology, half of the medication that we take we can't even pronounce. They got a KYZOZ, and you don't know what kind of medicine that is, and you don't know what it does and what's the effect. And the other one is the financial world. The financial world really, we study and we have to learn. We had to learn another whole genre, a whole understanding of all these terminologies when it comes to investing your money. So one deals with your life in terms of whether you're being free. That's the legal system. The other one deals with your medical, and the other one deals with your finance, your money. So we try to break it down because our part is the money. We try to break it down so you can understand. So today we want to talk about something that's very dear to us,
Mhm.
very much dear to us in several different ways, and it's understanding estate planning. Estate planning. And estate planning deals with wills and trusts. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it because most people don't want to feel like they don't even think they don't even want to think they're gonna die. We all say we're gonna die, but deep down, most of us don't want to think that we ever gonna die. But we know that if there is a beginning, there is what?
And
An
it.
ending.
Mhm. And
We
it.
know that.
Yeah. One of the things that, one of the reasons why we decided to talk about estate planning tonight, for me, I was very excited to talk about estate planning because we've been doing this for such a long time. I've been in this space where I actually watch my clients grow in age as they watch me grow in age. And many of them can't believe that my daughter is now 25 and my son is almost 15 because they've watched them grow in age. A part of that aging process is we leave our bodies and we go on to meet the creator, right? We go on to heaven with God. And that process in itself is it's emotional for me. However, what's even more emotional is after our clients age and pass and transition, sometimes their family members call, and we get two types of call. One call is from the family member who knows exactly what their parent or their aunt or uncle had, and they were identified as a beneficiary. And we get that call quite frequently, and it's really easy to navigate that call. Oftentimes, we also get the call from someone who we're not familiar with, but they're inquiring about the person's account. They may be a daughter or a granddaughter or things like that. And they're inquiring about the person's assets and their money and their finances and things like that. And 9 times out of 10, they're not listed as a beneficiary. 9 times out of 10, we didn't even know they existed when the person was alive. And so, what we found is that these people sometimes become angry and they want to go back and wish that the person was alive and they had sat down and had this conversation with them so that they could handle their affairs after they died. And I always tell people, I say, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this, but we can't go back, right? Once God calls his child home, he does not return them. So when I said, what are we going to talk about? I said, estate planning is something that we really need to talk about because, as Mr. Henderson stated, we all know that there's a beginning and there's an end, but oftentimes we don't plan for it. Another type of call that we often get is these people usually aren't our clients, but they call and they say, hey, we've heard about you all at the Henderson Financial Group. Such and such referred me, and then my coworker referred me, and then the third person referred me. So I finally called. But here's the issue. My family house does not have an estate plan and it has to go through probate. We want to sell my mom's house. We want to pay the taxes. We want to do all these things. And I often sit down and said, if we had just taken the time to do the proper documentation, doesn't take long. And nowadays it won't cost you much. Now, when I first started in financial planning, attorneys were charging double digit numbers, thousands of dollars, 10, 15, $20,000 for estate planning. Nowadays, we don't have to pay that much. As a matter of fact, we have a system and a software where in which we educate our clients about estate planning. And Mr. Henderson brought this on because we found that when we talk to our clients and say, hey, you've done the majority of the work, you've built the wealth, you've acquired the asset, and many times you paid off the asset. Do not let your wealth go down the drain. Do not hinder future generations by not doing your estate planning. And so we would tell our clients, get your estate planning done, get your estate planning done. And of course, we all put things off. And so sometimes they would not get it done. And so we said, hey, we got to stop that. We got to stop that. We have to make it to where we say, do you have your estate planning done? Let's explain what estate planning is. And estate planning is just a fancy way of saying, after you pass away, after you transition, who's going to speak for you and your assets beyond the grave?
Right. You know, so I want to break it down to you so you can understand the whole concept of estate planning. Now,
Mr. Can you change the view, Mr. Neely, and can you pin us as a speaker, please?
Sure.
So that whoever's watching,
Yep, yep. I thought I had you
you can just
guys as the
change if you
I
hit the
am.
view.
Yep, yep, yep. I got you. I'm going to spotlight you guys.
Yeah. So whoever's watching, absolutely, when they watch the replay, they can get everything that we're saying. Perfect. Okay.
okay,
Sorry to cut you off. Go
Spotlighted
ahead.
now, all right?
okay. So, all right, let's talk about when you pass away, because all of us gonna pass away. We really are. And it could be just fantastic on the other side. And we probably said, man, we wish we would have known this, but nobody has come back and told us that's not the way the game of life is played. So there's something called a will, WILL, a will. And then there's something that's called a living trust. So I'm going to talk about both of them because I want you to get educated on what is a will. Because all of our lives, most of us adult lives, we've heard so much about you got to get a will, got to get a will, got to get a will. But before I explain to you really what a will is and do you need a will, I want to tell you what if you did not have a will. Now, most people don't have a will. A will is, imagine this, a will is documentation where you have listed all of your things and stuff and how you want it to be distributed when you go to the pearly gates. You want to be able to say, hey, I want my house to go to this person. I want my car to go to that person. I want to donate this to my church. I want to have some money, a gift sent to my alma mater, my school. I want to give to my nieces and nephews. This is what I want to do. And that is when you do that, you go to an attorney. An attorney is going to draw up a will. Now, a will, like I say, is just a gathering of all of your important assets, things that you want to transfer and things that you want to give to someone, your loved one, someone you care about. Okay. Now, what if you don't have a will? What do they call that? That's for people, they call it intestate, meaning that you didn't even do nothing. And why is it so important to have at least something? A will, to me, I look at it like a roadmap. Because if you don't have anything, like a lot of people don't, they say they'll get around to it. But as you all know, nobody knows the day, the time, and the hour when you're going to give up the ghost when the good Lord says time to go home. So people say, I'll get to it. And all of a sudden they wake up dead and they didn't get to it. And that's when the problem takes place. When you don't have a will, we call it intestate. And the problem is when someone comes into Big Mama house and they open the door and they see Big Mama, Big Papa laying on the ground and died or in their sleep, then they go, oh, Lord, we know we got to take care of Big Mama. Where is her things and stuff? Do she have any money? Where's her bank account? Where's her important things? Does she have a checking account, savings account? And then you got to look all over under the mattress. You got to look in the drawers, and you're looking all over. And we've all have been there because you don't know because she didn't give a roadmap. She didn't say exactly what she have. However, if she would have had at least a will would say, hey, y'all don't have to look and tear up my house. Here's a document that I've already prepared that tells you exactly where my money is. Here's some money in the credit union. Here's some money in a CD. Here's money under the mattress. Here's money in the icebox, refrigerator.
Cold hard cash.
Here's some cold hard cash. Okay, and then I want to leave this house. I got 3 kids, but 2 of them sorry. I want to leave this one to my house to my daughter because she always took care of me. And that's a will. And at least that's better than having nothing. But I tell you, statistics said that most people don't have nothing. And the reason why they don't have nothing, because people, just to think about transitioning, the thought of you leaving this place, a lot of people don't want to think about that. So they'll say, I'll get to it. Because some people, superstitious, feel like if they start writing that stuff out, they may die sooner. And that can be further from the truth.
I love the way that you're explaining this. I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
And I'm acting like one of the audience
Okay.
members. Okay. So you says when a person dies without a will,
right,
that's called they die intestate.
That's right. They don't have nothing.
They don't have anything. So that's a term that I want everyone listening to write that down because we're talking about estate planning.
Right.
And when you don't have a will, you're dying intestate.
Right.
Okay. Hear that.
You have nothing.
When you die intestate, who gets to decide what's going to happen with your house and your belongings? Because if you die intestate and you don't have named beneficiaries and your loved ones looks and says, oh, you have an account at the credit union, can they go to the credit union and say, oh, this is my mama, I want her money because she's dead?
No, because by law.
No, they can't, because if unless a beneficiary is named, that's why we need TODs, transfer on deaths, on our bank accounts.
Or POD, paid on death.
Write that down. We need those on our account. Something as simple as our regular accounts. But beyond that, if we don't have the legal document, if we didn't, we said we'd get to it, and like Mr. Henderson says, we never know the day or the hour, and we die intestate, who gets to decide what happens?
That's right. Okay, so if you are listening to us and the shoe fits, and you haven't done anything, tomorrow if you wake up dead, you're going to give your family and friends a job. They got to find out and figure out, like treasure hunt, where where his stuff is. And if you have a car that's in your name and you ain't have time to transfer it to somebody else who you want to leave it to, they have to go to court to get the car because you can't come back. You dead now. You can't come back through the clouds and say, okay, before I left, I wanted to give this car to Johnny.
Correct.
And I also, before I didn't know I was going to die, but what I want to do is I want to sign the house over to my sister.
And since you didn't do that, you have to go to the
Court.
courts.
Okay.
Your family, not you, because you're going to be in heaven. So your family has to go through the courts and start the probate process.
Now you know what really happens in real life when you die.
Mm-hmm.
So millions of people, their mother, sister, brother, auntie, they just died.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say the house was paid off.
Mm-hmm.
They just figure they go in there and they start living in the house
Mm-hmm.
and they just carry on.
Mm-hmm.
But the property in the downtown public records, wherever they are, is still in the dead person's name. Now, if a hurricane, if some kind of legal take action, legal action takes place, FEMA, you want to get some kind of aid, you want to get some government assistance, whatever, but that's not your house. You like an intruder. Why? Because in the public records, it's have your dead mama
Name information on it.
right.
I hear that a lot. We get that a lot.
Yes.
And so even so when the house is free and clear, and sometimes when the house isn't free and clear, the children will say, my mom died and they've been paying the mortgage. And the mortgage company is like, they want their money. As long as
the
you're
mortgage
paying
company
them.
said we can't even talk to you.
Right. But they'll take their money.
Right.
They will take the money, but they won't talk to them. They won't help them. And then it gets to the point where maybe they need insurance on the house, or they need repairs, or they need something done. And we often get the calls where they say, I've been living in my mom's house or my aunt's house or whatever.
25 years.
Exactly. And I've been paying the mortgage. I've been doing this. But when it comes time to take action, they can't take action. They can't get insurance. They don't have any legal rights. And so, like Mr. Henderson said, you don't know the day or the hour. Very real in recent experience. Last Sunday, I was going to church. I went to church. I got up, I went to church, and I told my mom, I said, okay, when I get back from church, I have a luncheon to go to, the Jamaican Women of Florida luncheon to go to. And then after that, I'm going to make you your dinner and things like that. She says, okay. Well, when I was in church, my daughter texted me and she said, Grandma said she needs to go to the hospital. So long story short, my mother has been in the hospital since last Sunday. Yesterday made a week. She's been in the hospital, and we didn't plan that. We don't know, like Mr. Anderson says, we don't know the day or the hour when things are going to happen. And life is just so fragile. It's so interesting that things shift like that. So as you hear us talking about wills and trust and estate planning, what I want everyone under the sound of our voices to understand is that it is something that you need to take care of, not tomorrow, but immediately.
That's right.
Not next week, but immediately. And everyone's estate plan is going to be different. You may need an extensive estate plan, and maybe your friend or your sister or your neighbor may not, right? Okay, so we went over estate planning.
Right.
Briefly, we talked about a will. We talked about if you die without a will, you die intestate. And when you die intestate, now you have to involve the courts. And when you involve the courts, unless you are an estate planning attorney, you now have to pay lawyers' fees, right? You have to get on the judge's calendar, and attorneys charged by the hour. So now you think about, and we've seen this happen again as well. Your loved one has passed away. The family may or may not still be bonded. I don't want to project, but lots of times the family separates. There's some kind of bickering and things like that go on. So now you have a family dynamic that may not be the same as when the loved one was still here. And now we're talking about we got to pay attorneys $300 an hour.
Yes. Yes.
To get us to agree to decide who gets the house. But you want, and here's another one. You want the house, you want to live in the house, but you don't want to pay no taxes.
Right.
You don't want to pay no insurance. We see that, and people are saying, logically it doesn't make sense, but it becomes a fight. Right. So what's the solution to that?
Well, if you don't have nothing, if you just live and you think that you're going to live forever, and you didn't take no steps toward estate planning in case something happens to you, and even before, if you don't have anything, what we call intestate, you just living day to day, and you don't have anything structured. What happens if you become incapacitated? If you become incapacitated, do you have a power of attorney? Nobody knows when they're going to become Alzheimer or they slip and fall and go in a coma. Do you have any documentation to say if something happens to me, Johnny or my cousin or my friend will take over? Do you have anything like that? And most people don't. So when you're naked, so to speak, and don't have any armor, then anything could happen, and it's going to cost you. I'm gonna tell you something. You think education costs. ignorance and not knowing costs a lot of money because they will charge you for all of this stuff. So you can get ahead of it because you know that you can't get off this planet alive. So you might as well go ahead and take care and get your financial house in order. So if you don't have anything, that's called intestate. Now, if you say, now after listening to us, you say, okay, I want to at least have something gathered, a structure. I want to at least have a document that says, if anything happened to me, this is who I want to take care my stuff and carry me on. Then you can get a will. But the reason why I don't really like wills so much is because all wills are recorded in public records. So even though you may say, I want to get a will and I want to leave my house to so and so, I want to leave my car to this person, I want to leave my jewelry to this person, I don't have my money going to this person, even though you at least align, at least you got a structure where people don't have to look under your mattress and go looking all through your dressers and drawers. You have a will. I don't like those because reason why I don't like the wills is because all wills have to go through probate. In other words, key example. Let's say you have 3 kids, 3 children, grown children, and 2 of them are misfits. They're out in the street or whatever. You love them, but they just not doing the right thing. But you have this one daughter. But this one daughter come by, help you with your medicine, help you when any kind of important paper come to your house. She come and help you read it, and you can depend on her. Now, in your will, you say that if anything should happen to you, you're going to leave the house to the daughter because you know that she's responsible. But then you have 2 sons. One doesn't even live here, and one does live here. And if you support him, but you know that if something happens to him, happen to you, he ain't going to have nowhere to stay. Because from time to time, he come to your house and he go in the back room and lay down, and that's okay. But you're going to leave the house to your responsible daughter. She'll take care of him. All right. Now, and you put that inside of your will. Now, you think that just because you put it in your will, that's going to be law. No, because whatever you put in the will, you don't have the last say. When you go into heaven, guess who has to authorize and make sure that your will is valid and make sure that your will is carried out? A complete stranger. That's a judge. All wills in America has to go before a judge. Why does it have to go before a judge? Because a judge got to put their 2 cents in it and see, does it make sense to them, not to you. Because a judge will come there and say, in that same situation, judge will come in and say, okay, even though the deceased is gone, she has 3 kids. She wants this one daughter to own the home, but she has 2 other sons. The judge can come in there and say, listen, I'm not doing that. I'm the judge. This is my court. I'm going to leave the house to all 3 of them. That's what I'm going to do. Now, you probably in your grave, you want to just come through and choke that judge's neck. But you can't do that because judges have a lot of authority. They say what they want to say. And a lot of wealthy people say they don't want to leave their assets to the whims of a complete stranger. That's why they say they don't like wills. Because wills, you don't have the last say. Who has the last say? The judge. And the judge can do in however they want to do. So people say they don't really like that. So what's better than a will? We like the living trust. Now, what is a living trust? A living trust basically is a formation. You gather and you put all your things and stuff, who you want to leave your house, your car, all of your assets, and how you want them to distribute it. But once you put it on that document and you die, it don't go to court. It don't go to a judge. It don't go to an attorney. Whatever you put down, it's going to stay there until you change it. That's why we call it living trust. Because while you're alive, if your daughter married the wrong person, you can change. You can change her because you're alive. So you the head honcho. You can put on your trust whoever you want to. They make you mad, you can change it. But after you go into heaven, however it's left, that's etched in stone. Then it becomes an irrevocable trust. But still, when you die, it don't have to go to no court, no judge. If long as your daughter or whoever you leave it to have your death certificate, the banks, the court, the driver's license bureau, they will actually give the car to whoever you said. That's why we like living trust. Not only that, the living trust inside of it has a healthcare directive. Hi, so you want to tell them what a healthcare directive is?
Yes, the healthcare directive is in case you become incapacitated where you can't speak for yourself, then the person who you appoint will be able to communicate with the doctors and also tell them if you want to be revived or not. Usually the most important part. You usually have that conversation with your family members while you're alive, and you say, "Hey, do I want to stay on this life support machine? Maybe a week, maybe a month." You get to call out and spell out what you want to happen in the event that you
Now
become
that's very important
incapacitated.
because sometimes you have three kids and
Okay.
one of the children say, pull the plug. Another child, no, 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 keep her on
Yeah.
life support or keep her with all the tubes. And the hospital is, as long as you keeping them,
They're getting paid.
they getting paid.
Right.
And one of the children had a conversation with mom. Mama said, don't let them people just milk it and milk it. I don't want to be on life support for, 3 years or whatever. I want to go because I'm tired. You follow me? So to take that responsibility out of any child or any person's hand, when you do a living trust, you already have made the decision.
Yeah.
So they don't have to make the decision. You don't have to say you killed mama or you killed dad or you did this. It especially if some people don't like to give blood, and they'll say
Or receive blood.
or receive blood. They'll say I don't want any blood.
And don't put nobody else's blood in my body.
That's what they'll say.
Yeah.
Some people, and they got the religious beliefs. Don't give me that, but that has to be stated out in your healthcare director. Now, healthcare directive is totally different from a power of attorney. Why would you need a power of attorney, Heisey?
A power of attorney, and there are different types of power of attorneys. There are durable power of attorneys and non-durable power of attorneys. Now, a non-durable power of attorney is something that lasts. It's a document that allows someone else to speak on your behalf while you are alive. But once you transition, that power of attorney becomes void.
Right.
Now, we've been doing a lot of talks about when you transition, when you go to heaven, but we also should bring to the conversation when you age. And what we're seeing a lot is a lot of our clients are needing memory care. So that may be dementia, that may be Alzheimer's and things like that. We'll start noticing some slips, and our clients will need someone else to speak and act on their behalf. Now, the problem with this is if you do not designate power of attorneys and get certain estate planning documents done before the memory starts slipping, you can't have it done. It has to be done while the person's mental capacity is at its peak. And that's something that we see, especially with this food and the things that they're doing with the food and the TV and all those things. Don't get me started on that. But memory care is something that's very, very important. And I will say another thing that breaks my heart, especially working here for so long and developing relationships with clients, is, I often see as my clients age, all of a sudden, and I'm not picking on men. I love men.
I hope so.
I love men. I love our black men. I love men.
Came from one.
I came from one. I got a good daddy, and I love men.
Father.
However, what I have seen in my experience is the son or the husband who we don't have a relationship with comes in and wants to know about what's going on with the mama's account or the wife's account. And before we know it, they're taking advantage. So it's so, so, so important that you get these documents in place because, again, I've been doing this for 24 years and I never see the daughter do it. I'm not saying that they don't do it, but it hasn't been my experience. And so for me, I support my clients and I am going to go by what's on the document. So I'm not to be bullied about I'm her son or I'm her husband. I go by what's on the document. You may be all of that, but according to this document, these are the documents that we have that your mother, your aunt, or maybe your dad, whoever put in place when they had the mental capacity to identify who they wanted to speak for them. So these are some things that I want us to be thinking about, that need to be taken care of because we don't know. We don't know. We talk a lot about insurance and risk and things like that in this business, and being alive is a risk. We don't know. Who knows when I leave here and get ready to go home and go to the hospital to visit my mom, who knows what may happen in the interim. So when you think about that, if you have assets, whether it's a home, if you have a say, you want to be able to speak for yourself in the event that your memory goes or your health goes, then estate planning is something that must be done. Another thing that I wanted to add about probate is when we talk about probate is when we said we die intestate, that can be a judge has to decide, and that can be contested, and then also a will can be contested. That's a simple way of saying, although you may have stated, I want XYZ to get ABC
In a will.
in a will, that person or even the neighbor can come along and say, you know what, your mama died. We used to play Pokino back here every Friday, and she racked up a hefty debt, and she owes me $25,000.
That's right.
And you say, I never knew about that. My mom didn't tell me that. Well, you knew your mom used to come over here every Friday, right? Oh, okay. I saw the notice. I'm going down to the courts and I'm going to file a claim. And now we tie up the probate process. And a lot of times the family gets to the place of saying, we just want this to be done with, so we're going to pay them something. So protecting yourself and planning for yourself is very, very important. It's something that you want to be proactive about because life happens. It's just a part of life where we age, we die, we transition, all these things happen.
Right. And all wills are contestable.
Contestable.
So someone can come in. If you have 2, 3 kids, they can, fight over the assets or whatever. Now, what if you don't have a home? Question comes up, what if I don't own a home? Well, if you don't own a home, then there's nothing for you to sign over to your loved ones or people you care about. But what if you own a car? It's kind of hard if you die and then that car is in your name only. It's kind of hard for you to sign over the title to somebody who's living and you're dead. So that has to go through a court. You have to take some legal action. It has to be done in order for whoever wants to get the car that's sitting up in your yard. They have to prove to the judge that they're the ones supposed to get it, especially if you have 4 or 5 kids or whatever. Then you got who's going to get the car. If you need estate planning if there anything that you own that need to have your signature on it in order to transfer that property to the next person. Now, my Uncle Willie, who died years ago, my Uncle Willie was like a rolling stone. My Uncle Willie, he was a Mr. Fix-It guy. He's a handyman guy. My mother, they had 5 girls and 2 boys, so my mother had 4 other siblings. My Uncle Willie, you just go and sleep over each of their houses, come sleep at our house for 2 days, then go over to my aunt's house and sleep. He didn't own anything. He didn't even own a car. So when Uncle Willie died, he really didn't need an estate plan because he didn't own anything. He just lived by, whatever he can get. He lived on the land, so to speak. So if you're like that, then no, you don't need, because you don't have anything to transfer. You don't have anything to leave anyone. But if you have anything, now, if you have a retirement plan, the retirement plans already have a beneficiary, and that's a sort of a trust also. If you have a life insurance policy, then that already that's like a trust also, because if you have whoever you name as a beneficiary and you don't change it before you die, they're going to take an act of Congress for them to even talk to you, somebody else. You follow me? Especially if you have a life insurance policy. We've seen a person who has gotten married and the life insurance policy was on his deceased life. It's deceased wife's life. He forgot to change the beneficiary. So when you come to us, we look at all this stuff to make sure all your assets are titled correctly. You have beneficiaries. This is part of estate planning, doing a checkup. And we all should do that. And you all should have somebody who you can trust and talk about your individual stuff. But it's very, very important. We see too many, especially people of color, who don't have anything, not even a will. And then we see the ones that have a will that it's really bad, because all wills are contestable. Creditor, you owe credit cards. As soon as you die, man, I tell you, them credit card companies gonna swarm in there. So when you have a will, it's not credit proof, okay? It's not lawsuit protection. When you have a living trust, that's what I like about them, because now you put your assets in the trust, and while you're alive, you're still a trustee, and you can still do whatever you want to do: paint it, sell a house, paint the house. You still a king or the queen of it. You're the owner, yeah, so you don't lose anything. You still get your homestead exemption and everything. So that's why we really, really favor having a living trust. And it don't cost a lot. It used to cost tens of thousands of dollars. Now you can get the things $1,000 or $1,400. The reason why we talk to people about it because we don't want people to get ripped off. Before we started really talking to our clients one on one about the importance of having a trust and estate planning is because we would give recommendations. We would tell them to go out to an attorney and get their estate plan done. And sometimes they'll call us back and say, this person charged me $10,000 or this person charged me $6,000. And that's just too much. So what we did, we aligned ourselves with a national organization that gives us a software and help us tailor estate planning to our individual clients and their individual needs. And that's why we like it a lot. And this is very, very dear to us because like my daughter said, we see it all the time, but you gotta be proactive. You gotta take care of your business.
Yeah. I hate to see the house. My seniors, they work, they pay off the house is free and clear, and you're so proud. Like, I don't have a mortgage, I don't know anybody, this is my house. And then you pass away and the house is just left in limbo. So I think it would be a great time to open this up for questions. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Hey, anybody, you gotta have some questions. And listen, there's no question that's a dumb question. Whatever you thinking, somebody else is thinking it too. I want you to be brave and ask the question. All right.
We'll open it up, Rob. We have looks like 19 participants still on, so we'll open it up.
Okay.
All right, Miss Dames, it looks like I saw you come off. Do you have a question?
I was just wondering, could you explain again the difference between a power of attorney and healthcare directive?
Yes. A power of attorney while you're alive, you have the power. But then if something should happen to you, if you should go in a coma, you should be unable to make decisions for yourself, then you would name a secondary person and you would give them power to act on your behalf, especially financial.
So the healthcare directive is just regarding healthcare matters. And
Right.
so if you have a general power of attorney, and it depends on the type of power of attorney, but power of attorneys generally go beyond healthcare matters. So at the very least, you want to have that healthcare directive in place so that your wishes can be met. But a power of attorney can cover bank accounts, investment accounts, different areas outside of healthcare.
Yes. In other words, we've had clients who have power of attorneys, and when that client can't really act on their own, then they'll give a power of attorney to their daughter or their son, and your daughter or son will give us direction and tell, we need some money out of the account to pay this so and so, but we need that legal document says that you have the power and the authority, and your mother or your father gave it to you while they were coherent and sane and of sound mind. You can't get a power of attorney once somebody goes down. You got to get it while they're healthy and they have sound mind. And then because they got to make sure that they did it not under duress, they had a sound mind when they gave you power of attorney for them. Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
I have one.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay.
And my question is, I think when you mentioned it, Hyson, you said that there were two kinds of powers of attorney, and you talked about one while the person is alive, but once the person is deceased, then that power goes away. So what is the other one?
Yep. So you have a durable power of attorney and a non-durable power of attorney.
Okay.
So a durable power of attorney is going to endure. And so that's usually tied to a trust document. It's going to endure after the person is deceased. And it's tied to a trust document. But the non-durable power of attorney says when this person, and it depends on the language, right? That's in the power of attorney. But typically it says when this person dies, or perhaps when this person becomes incapacitated, this non-durable power of attorney is not in effect anymore. So everything is about the language when you're dealing with legal documents. That's why it's very particular to work with the professional. But you want to ask these questions and know, okay, which one do I want? Because you may not know the language, but you know what you want. And so you can say, hey, I want a document that is in place only while I am alive. after I transition, I already have my estate planning documents established, meaning, hey, I may give my daughter or my son power of attorney to call in and do things while I'm alive. But as soon as something happens to me, or if my mental capacity diminishes, I appointed my sister. I appointed somebody else. So we get very specific with how we create these estate planning documents.
Right. And as a matter of fact, we just had one where this client has been with us for almost 30 years. And her family knows us because we manage this client's money.
Mm-hmm.
This client just got a little dementia there, a little Alzheimer.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked to the client's loved ones and we said, we probably should have an immediate power of attorney just in case, because we don't want to wait until it gets worse, because it'll be hard to do a power of attorney, because someone can always say she wasn't in her right mind. But while she's in her right mind, why don't we get an immediate power of attorney? Immediate power of attorney, we'll just hold it back, but the client still has all the rights, full control. But the day the client gets a little bit more unhealthy mentally wise, then that a power of attorney kicks in, and then we can take orders from her loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to securities and investments and stocks and bonds, when you sign an account and we handling your portfolio and manage your money, HIPAA law said we cannot talk to anybody other than you. And that's really to prevent fraud. We cannot. If you have an account with us and your son call us and want to talk about your money, we cannot unless your son or daughter has on record a power of attorney. Now, we have the power of attorneys and we advise people to go ahead, fill it out so we can have it in our files just in case anybody ever questions us.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what a power of attorney is.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you mentioned that. That was a great question too, by the way. And I love that you mentioned the laws and things, because, I'm the one I'm going to give you the pushback. I'm going to, no,
No gray areas.
No, I protect my clients. I do that. I get very attached and I protect my clients, and I will want somebody to do that for me as well. Miss Carolyn, I think you had a question.
Yes, I'd like to have you clarify the importance of changing titles, whether it's a car or any other possession that should the person pass, how do you get that done?
Okay. Well, when you have a living trust, you can inside that trust that we'll set the living trust up for you. And then we're going to ask you, when we do living trust, it's guided living trust. We can do it on the Zoom. We have clients all over the country, so it can take about an hour. We'll do it on a Saturday or a weekday. And then we'll do a Zoom and we'll open up the questions to you. And if you say that you have a car and the car is in your name, then what we'll do, we'll put that in the trust. And then it also says that upon your death, or if you become incapacitated, who you want that title to be transferred to. Now, once that happens, as long as that person's name is in the trust, they can take that to the driver's license bureau and they will change the title, because it's a trust. And it trumps everything. Mm-hmm. It's extremely powerful as long as you have the trust. You don't need a court order if you have a trust, but you have to prove that your name is on there and you have your ID, and now you can go and get anything transferred in the way it's supposed to be and the way it's written inside of that trust. Long as you have your ID and long as it has a trust, the trusts are always notarized with two witnesses and a notary to say this is exactly what you want to have done. Now, if you can do that now, 5 years from now, you can say, well, I'm going to change a car. I got a new car. Then we'll update your trust and we can put your new car in it. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, I'm sorry.
I was going to say retitling assets is very important, whether we're talking about a car or a house, because it gives the person proper ownership. And a lot of times we can get into the place of having the false belief that providing financial support equates to ownership, and it doesn't work that way. That's a fancy way of saying, oh, I'm paying the mortgage on my dead mama's house, so it's my house. that's not how it works. Oh, I've been paying the car insurance. Oh, I've been driving the car around and paying the car note. They're going to take your money. But when it comes time for something that needs to be done legally, they're going to say, who's the legal owner? And we hear it all the time. People are upset and irate, and rightfully so. They're saying, hold on, now you want to know who the legal owner is? I can show you proof of payments, but you're not the legal owner. So that's why retitling assets and having the proper documents in place so that assets are retitled correctly is I can't stress that enough. It's very important.
Yeah, we just had a case where this guy is 70 years old, and he came to us because his mother died 30 years ago. He has been taking care of that house. As a matter of fact, one of his sons lived in his mother's house. The house is free and clear. But according to legal documents and public records, the owner of that house is still a dead person, his mother.
Right.
So really, even though he's been paying the taxes, he's been paying the homeowner's insurance, his son living there because it's family, but it'll never be theirs unless they go through probate. They got to go through the courts. Now, what happens? So we had to help him to get all that straightened out and get it out of the deceased name and get it into his name. But when you do that, we got to ask him how many children did your mother have? If he says it was 5 of us, that means the property is not automatically his, because a judge will say, even though your mother had 5 children, she's been gone 30 years, all the rest of the children, they know that it's your house because you've been paying the taxes and your son living in there. But according to the law, it ain't his house because his mother name is still on it. And the judge will say, no, 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 no. There's 5 of y'all. Who said just because you've been, the other 4, I got to agree. Well, we got to have a court session and it's going to cost. And it ain't going to be, and it's not going to happen. It ain't going to be done in 1 week, not even 1 month, not even 6 months.
Not even 1 year.
Not even 1 year. And you got to hire attorney, whether you like it or not, because you can't come to court and defend yourself. It could be a legal racket. Even if the other 4 siblings say, no, 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 we're going to give it to him. He done good by it. No, no, no. The judge say that property belongs to all 5 of y'all because there was no instructions.
And if one of the children, one of the siblings or the mother's children also died, right? So it was 5, she had 5 children. And if one of her children, she died and one of her children died, guess what? Now the probate process also includes the dead child's children. Now what if the nieces and nephews don't have good sense? We know what happens as we go down generation.
Generation. In jail. Welcome in jail.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Who has the next question?
Okay, I have a question. If you, as I was checking on this, rather than do a will or rather than even do a trust, if you have the person's name is on everything that you have, including all of your accounts. So it's like ownership. So then there's no need because it's automatically the person owns it because they're there. Now, if you have a house and members of your family have houses and you don't want to bother with their home exemptions because they can't not really own but one primary residence to claim home exemption, is there such a thing as mature enhancement or the Ladybird document that you can do and that you own it and you do what you want to do with it, and once you're deceased, whatever person's name you have there, without even going through probate or going anywhere, they automatically now can own that house?
Absolutely. I used it. I use it all the time. It's called a Ladybird deed.
Right.
What was that?
It's called a Ladybird deed.
Okay.
Ladybird. Yeah. President Johnson's wife, Ladybird.
My question to you, Mr. Henderson, is that can that be done through Zoom?
That can be done through.
Can you prepare the deed? Can you prepare the Ladybird deed?
Yeah, we can prepare it. Yeah, through a Zoom. Okay. Yes, we can through a Zoom. You could be in
Okay.
Chicago. You could be in the Bahamas, wherever. We can prepare it through Zoom. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Now, let me tell you something. What you just described, when you put somebody else on your bank account or somebody else on your assets, we call it a poor man's trust. I mean, it's slick, it's covered, but unfortunately, you got to make sure that person is in good standard. Because if you're lucky enough and you got a responsible person to put on your assets, put on your house, or put in your bank account, if they're trustworthy, then you hit a home run. The problem is some people will put, like my daughter was saying, a son that when you become incapacitated, he may just turn into a wolf and get money crazy. We've seen that before, okay? I mean, we really have.
Yeah. And on another note as well, is let's talk about this litigious society that we live in.
He gets lawsuits.
So you put somebody on your assets and something happens and they get sued and they come after their assets and it's really your asset, but you put them on there because you didn't want to do estate planning. And so now your assets are in jeopardy, tied up with something that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So with everything, as Mr. Henderson likes to teach us and remind us, there's always trade-offs.
Yes.
Right. So we can do that, but you have to understanding what risk you're exposing yourself to when you do that.
Right.
And then another question about not specifically the Ladybird Deed, but sometimes people say, well, I have somebody already on my house. I have my husband or my child or whatever on my house. We have to look at the titling, the way that it's titled. That's going to be very important. That's why we have to review your documents, because the way that you hold title will tell the courts and the legal system if the property automatically transfers to the second owner, the joint owner, or if the deceased owner's portion must be probated. So titling is very important. So we have to think about those as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
So if we wanted to, at the end of this show, end of this meeting, if we wanted to have an exam and say, raise your hand if you know the difference between a will and a trust. One of them you have to go through probate, one you don't have to go through probate. So who knows the difference between a will or trust?
Drop a 1 in the comment section. Let's see. I'm looking. Somebody comments here. Drop a 1 in the comment section if you know the difference between a will and a trust.
Does a will have to go through probate?
Where's my comment section?
Or
You
does
have
a
to hit
trust?
the chat. Go to the chat and
Okay.
drop the 1 in there.
Go to the chat if you know the difference. If you don't know the difference, it's okay. We can explain it again. If you know the difference between a will and a trust and which one has to go through probate and what are the advantages and disadvantages, if we've made that crystal clear, drop a 1 in the chat. There are 19 callers on this Zoom, maybe couples, so maybe more than 19 bodies. Drop a 1 in the chat. Now, if you don't know, and if you say, you know what, I need some more clarification, drop a 2 in the chat, because we want to make sure that we don't leave here tonight without giving you the clarity that you need.
And we're going to simplify. We're going to tell you so you'll get it right off. You can know the difference between a will and a trust.
Any 2s in the comment section? Any 2s?
I have a 1. Oh, go to
No 2s.
Yeah.
Everybody
understand the difference between a will
amazing
and a trust.
Amazing. Amazing. You did well, Mr. Henderson.
You did well, daughter.
Thank you. Thank you.
So y'all did,
All right.
did a great job.
May I
Yeah.
just ask a question, please?
Very good.
I have a question.
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Mhm.
Oh, so thank you.
Mhm.
You mentioned something about titling. I want clarification on titling. You were just saying just a few minutes ago about the property.
Mhm.
If you have an estate, could you just go back to just explain it again, please?
Yes. So the way that we hold title to our property, if we're talking about real estate, there are various ways. And this is something that you have to check, maybe your closing documents when you purchased your house, or maybe you did a refinance. How is your property title? Do you hold title? We call it Jot Ross, joint tenant with right of survivorship. Do you hold title with joint tenants of right of survivorship? If it specifically states that, then that means I'm a joint tenant with Mr. Henderson. And if something happens to me, he has rights of survivorship, right?
Right.
Goes to him.
Okay.
Sometimes people hold title as Hyacinth Henderson, a single woman, and Robert Henderson, a married man. Where's the rest? What does it talk about? Is it tenants by entirety? Is it tenants in common? So I'm spelling out these technical terms, not so that you can understand, oh, well, which one do I have? But I'm spelling out these terms so that you can be aware that there are different terms that matter. And so we can look at your case on a case by case situation, but I want everyone to understand, oh, just because my name and his name or her name is on here, how is it titled?
Yes, because you could say you can have a property and you can say I want my two daughters to inherit the property, but then if one daughter dies, the other daughter all assumes that she's going to have the property by herself, but it might not be the case. Because if you have two daughters and one daughter died, the other daughter said, okay, she's dead, it's all mine.
What
No,
about her grandchildren?
that daughter who died had children.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called stripes. So you have to go down her children. So the person who's left, they don't just get the property, they got to deal with her 5 kids. So
it matters.
It depends on what matters how it's titled. You know, but you're not here alone. You know, Brother Neely, that's why he wanted us to come on and talk to you, just so you can have access. Having access to information. I've been doing this 40 years, and we have a passion. My daughter's been here 24 years with them. We're all licensed. We have a passion for doing this, and we'll help you. A lot of people, man, they lonely. They have to go it alone. They have to just call a complete stranger. But when people come to us, 95% of our clients are referrals. Somebody referred us. And you only get referrals when you do a good job. And that's what we do. And then we become like a family, so to speak. Somebody can touch somebody, touch somebody who do business with us. So if you want to be educated, whether it's retirement planning, whether it's mortgages or just understanding about finance, that's why we're so happy to be a part of you guys' group and working with the church. You have access to us where you can actually call us and just say, hey, you're a member of the church, and you have access to total financial planning, whether you want to talk about living trusts, if you want to talk about investments, if you want to talk about annuities, if you want to talk about life insurance, you have that plug. I mean, you know, everything's. I'm so big on relationships, and it starts from you got to have a relationship with God. That's why I know that relationships. Let me tell you something. Relationships are more important than money, because you might not have no money, but if you got a relationship, you still can eat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
you won't starve. It's 100%. And a great point. I'm glad that you encourage everyone here to call us. I was having a conversation with someone, not Saturday, this past Saturday, and she was talking about her financial advisor, and she was asking me these questions, and she's asking me about fees and numbers and all these things. And I said to her, the most important thing you want to look for in an advisor is someone who is patient, someone who explains it in the manner that you can understand, and someone who listens to your goals and your desires. And she said, he does all those things, but it's me. I know it's my fault. He tells me I should call. And I said to her, I said, you really should. You don't wait until you're in crisis. If you have a financial professional like you are listening here, call us. There's no reason why you should be saying, oh, I don't know. Call the Henderson Financial Group. We are passionate about educating. We will help you. We will tell you. And here's one thing now, I will say this. I tell people all the time, we are a gourmet restaurant. And this get it while it's hot fast food society where I can leave here and pull up to my choice of Chick-fil-A or Burger King or McDonald's and get a number 1 or number 3, and it'll come out in 3 minutes. If it comes out in 5 minutes, I'm upset because it's taking too long. Could you imagine food is taking too long for 5 minutes, right? But in this society where we are so used to give me this, and let me just stuff it in, we don't do that at the Henderson Financial Group. So what I'm saying is you may call and say, well, just tell me what to do this. And I say, no, we're personal chefs. What that means is you just got here. Sit down. What are your dietary preferences? Do you have any allergies? What did the doctor tell you to stay away from?
Like salt.
We have to go through that process. Another way I like to explain it is when you go to a physician, if someone referred you to a physician, and as soon as you get through that doctor's office door and you come in and you say, you know what, I've been having a little knee pain. And they says, okay, we're prepping you for the OR. You're going into knee surgery, or we got this narcotic. We're going to give you this Vicodin or morphine. You might be like, wait a minute.
Or some oxycodone.
Right. So I want you all to have that same, think about the physician's office and think, I ain't getting no fast food tonight. When I'm with the Henderson Financial Group, they actually want to know what sits well. I'm older now. I can't eat gluten anymore. I can't eat all that dairy. I'm going to be in the bathroom. The Henderson Financial Group, we want to know that before we talk about your finances. And that's so important because we're used to pushing a button and getting it really quickly. So when you call us at the Henderson Financial Group, understand that we are going to educate you. We're going to ask you some questions,
Yep.
but it's all for your greater good because we know why the Creator put us here.
Yep.
And it's not just to pump out food really quickly and say next, next, next. No, no, no. We want to educate you. And we ask that you come to us with that mindset of being educated.
Hey, we're going to analyze your situation, then we're going to diagnose it, and then we're going to prescribe financial medicine.
Yeah. You may not even need surgery, right? I like that. You may
We
you
gotta
may not need
diagnose it.
stitches, and rehab.
That's right. But we got to diagnose
Yeah.
it. But we got to diagnose what it is,
Yeah,
analyze
that's
it.
important.
Then we'll prescribe, hey, you may need some exercise,
Yeah.
So listen, if in that diagnosis, if you have a will and you want to transfer it to a living trust, how much energy goes into that?
Well, we got to review it first, and
Of
we
course.
have to review it and see what you have. And what you're basically saying is, I have something that's public records that my heirs are going to have to go in front of a judge, and I don't want to do that. I want to get off of that train, and I want to come over here
and make it private
and name exactly what I want to happen. So if you have a will, when you call the Henderson Financial Group, the first thing we're going to ask you to do is send us a copy, bring us a copy. We have to review what you have.
Okay.
Mr. Neely, I think I heard your voice there.
I just wanted to make sure you give out the phone number so they'll know how to reach you.
Yes.
Yes, all of that, right?
And I will also put it in the chat as well.
In the chat. Yes, absolutely. So 305-825-1444. Once again, 305-825 1444. Now, I'm going to use a medical analogy again. When you call the doctor's office and someone said, you got to go to Dr. such and such, they're the best doctor. When you call that doctor's office, you're not going to say, hey, I'm looking for Dr. Henderson. Put him on the phone right now. Or you say, oh, Dr. Henderson's not available. Can I take a message? No, no, no. Is there anything I help? No, no, no. And you keep calling back. Dr. Henderson is working with patients. So what you do when you call a doctor's office or a dentist's office, you say, hey, I was referred to Dr. So-and-so. Can I get on the calendar? And so we like to stress that because as much as we want to talk to you, we want to do it in an efficient way. And so when you call and let our receptionist know, hey, I was recently on a webinar or a meeting, or I'm a new potential client, don't just ask for Mr. Henderson or Miss Henderson and then we play phone tag. Say, hey, I want to get on their calendar so that I know when I show up for my appointment, whether it's telephone, virtual, or in person, they're ready for me.
And you can tell it. You can tell the receptionist. You can say it's urgent. I have to make a decision by tomorrow. And
if that's the case.
If that's the case. Now don't y'all know, don't play it with us. Don't be saying it's urgent and it could wait until next year.
Right.
It's return next year.
Yeah. Only if that's the case, because sometimes we get interesting calls or we get very interesting calls.
People are people.
But yeah, if that's the case. And then also our website, www.thehendersonfinancialgroup.com. Mr. Henderson does a Facebook Live every Saturday. We stream that on YouTube. So if you search YouTube, thehendersonfinancialgroup.com, you'll see lots of videos. If you search YouTube, hyacinthhenderson.com, you'll see my YouTube videos where I do education and a lot of mindset work and things like that. So we are here for you and we're ready to talk to you and support you. And thank you again to your church, the members and the administration is the word that I'm looking for putting this together. I think this is amazing, an amazing resource that your church has provided to you.
And also, if you want us to send you a link so you can get started actually looking at the Living Choice link, you call our office and say that you need to get the link. You saw us on the webinar today, and then you give your email. We'll send you a link where you can just click on it and the Living Trust information will be right there. And you can start completing it, or you can say, hey, I need you to help us complete it. Let's set up some time. But it's very friendly, and I think you're going to really like the link. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Any other questions before we let you all go?
Let's give it another round. See if anyone has.
I had one more. Do you necessarily need to have a power of attorney if you already have a trust in place? Do you need a power of attorney designated?
Well, normally, if it's done correctly, it should already include a power of attorney and a healthcare directive. Now, there are a lot of, you can go on the internet and there's a lot of people selling everything, half price or whatever. Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned that because we've seen people who have went and, paid for a living trust is $500. Now, you pay for what you get for, you pay for what you get. So let me tell you the difference between a living trust, a funded living trust, and just a living trust. If you call some attorney, say they will do a living trust for you. And then we have had people come in here. We say, we want to see the living trust that you had done for $500. And they will come into our office and we will look at the living trust, and it's a skeleton living trust. It's what you call an unfunded living trust. Now, I know that could be kind of, that might not be self-explanatory when I say an unfunded living trust, but let me give you a metaphor. So each of us probably have a closet in our house where you put your clothes in, right? So think about the closet, and we know the closet is for clothes and all kind of clothes, winter, summer, all kind of different assortment of, clothes, styles and everything, old clothes, new clothes, but inside your closet. Now, metaphorically, the closet that has clothes in it would be a proper living trust. Now, let's look at another way, an unfunded, what I see so many ways, so many times. Someone called an attorney up, they saw on TV or ad or whatever, and they said $500 for a living trust. And you call them and they can complete a living trust for you. But it's unfunded. What do I mean by unfunded? Let's go back to the closet example. Imagine you have a closet, but your clothes are thrown on the bed. Your clothes are hanging on the a chair. You haven't put any of your assets, i.e., your clothes, inside of the closet. So you paid for a trust, i.e., you paid for a closet, but it's unfunded. Your house, your things are not in the trust. Your clothes are on the bed. The closet is empty, but you paid for a closet. So there's a lot of people walking around America right now that has a living trust. But when you look at it, it's unfunded. Why will attorney do that? Because attorneys they'll just say they do a blanket skeleton trust, but they will not fund it. Funded means that they have to transfer the car from your name into the name of your trust. They have to take the house out of your name and put it into the name of your trust. They have to take things out of your personal name and put it into your trust. So when you can open, your pocketbook and say, I don't own anything. Everything is in my trust. You could sue me, but I ain't own nothing because I put what? I put it all in my closet. I put it in my trust, and that's the trust. Now, since you have that trust, the closet can't do anything. You need you to be the trustee, like a trustee of a church, the trustee to operate the church or operate the trust. And you do the bidding for the trust. That's what a living trust is about. I hope, is that too complicated? Did I make that clear?
I think you made it.
Yeah, let me just see if anybody has a question or need clarity.
Yeah. I also, as you were speaking, I saw a visual of a car, like someone saying, "Oh, I'm going to give you the car of your dreams," and you're like, "Yes," and you go outside and it's wrapped with a big, pretty red bow, and you heard, "This is the latest and greatest car. You got a new car. You need a new car. You need a car, and it got this red bow, and it has no engine inside. It has no transmission. It's like, I got the car, but it's not taking me anywhere." So a lot of times people have an unfunded trust. They did the paperwork, but they didn't transfer the assets inside. So then when something happens, you're like, "Oh, well, I got a trust, but ain't nothing in it. It's a car with no engine. Where I'm going."
Right.
Right.
We see it all the time. I see people come in and say, "Hey, I got an LLC." I say, "Okay, you got LLC, but if your property inside the LLC, you have to fund it. In other words, you have to merge it. You have to go out of your name. You got that land, that vacant land. You want to put that vacant land in the trust. You can't just say, I have a Robert Henderson trust. That's what I have
in my drawer.
in my drawer.
Yeah.
But then in the public records, if you look for that land, it's still titled in my name. In order for it to go in the trust, it got to go out of my name and go into my trust. My trust name, Robert Henderson
What you're
Living
saying,
Trust.
Mr. Henderson, is that you have paid for a service that you thought you had completed and you really did not get a
100%.
service.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly. You paid for the car, but you didn't get the engine with it.
100%. And it goes back to the titling, as we talked about. That's why I said titling is very important. But most of our people don't know this. They don't talk about this.
We
Let
see
me
it all
just
the
ask
time.
another question when you said title. If you have property, one more question, if you have title and you have you recorded, your name is there, you on the tax, you paid the taxes, and you have a deed. Is that sufficient that that property belongs to that person whose name is on the deed?
Now, remember, I'm a doctor, but I'm not going to operate without an x-ray. So when you say, is that sufficient that that person's name is on the deed? I haven't seen the deed. I don't know how the deed is prepared, if it's properly titled. It could be sufficient, but I would hate to say, yes, ma'am, it is. And then something happened because I didn't look at how it was titled. I didn't look at what it says. We have that all the time. People get ready to do closings and they've been paying the property taxes and they can't get clear title because a prior deed wasn't properly executed. So the titling is going to be very, very important.
Hey, listen, you guys are privileged. We have a relationship. Brother Neely came and got us from our relationship and says, "Hey, help my people." So it's not like you gotta call us and we're gonna say, "Okay, that's gonna be $1,000 or whatever." I mean, you can get a free checkup.
Right. You can say, look at this. What do you think about this? Let's review it. And then we will shine a light on some things. It's 8:15 now.
Listen, I was gonna
my
say,
battery's
guys,
expired.
listen, I am so appreciative of you all coming on.
Yes,
We had agreed
thank
to
you.
do this once a quarter. However often you want to do it, I think it's fine. I'm good with quarterly. I know we got busy and didn't get a chance to do another one, or we can do it twice a year, however we want to do it. But I'll check with the flock. And we also had a couple of, and I put out a message today because I did hear from one of my sister churches. They had heard about it, and I certainly invited them. So I think a couple of them jumped on. So you never know where this might go. So, John 21:15-17 says to feed my flock. That's what Jesus commissioned Peter to do. And this is part of the spiritual, of course, the financial, and the mind, or taking care of your body and health. We have a health ministry now strong. And I also want to make certain we have the financial aspect taken care of along with the spiritual at the church. So we complete the Trinity, and you all are a part of it. So I thank you all very much and look forward to the next session and the next topic when we get back together. But do you want to give out that number again, Heisey? Because I know, look, I'll be calling you myself on a couple of things.
Yes, I will give it out again. And then also, Mr. Neely, if you can ask the congregation and the church members what they'd like to talk about next. I'd love to do this again in 3 months. Let's not do it twice a year. Let's do it 4 times a year. What do they want to talk about next? I see a lot of things going on in the news, and I hear a lot about layoffs and people being forced into retirement. They weren't quite ready for retirement, but now they've been laid off and they have this retirement money. And there are so many nuances when it comes to retirement and your money and penalties and taxes and what to do with it. So I feel like that's a great topic to talk about, especially with this current climate that we're in. But I don't know. That's something that I feel. But your members, you all may say, let's talk about something else. So what I would love for you all to do is to get with Mr. Neely within the next 24 hours. Because after 24 hours, life is gonna life, and you're gonna think about something else within the next 24 hours.
Yeah.
Right. Within the next 24 hours, get with Mr. Neely and say, hey, this is what we want to talk about. And then by the end of the week, Mr. Neely, if you can give us a call, shoot us an email and say, this is what the members want to hear about next. I'd love to get another date on the calendar before the 31st. Okay.
You got
it. So
we'll do
before that. Awesome. So before we go, our telephone number again is 305-825-1444. Once again, 305-825-1444.
All right, awesome. Then why don't we go ahead and just close in prayer? I'm not James T, but we're going to give you a good Episcopalian prayer, okay? All right. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Heavenly Father, we come before you on this glorious evening, giving you thanks for the information that has been imparted upon us. We give you thanks for the Henderson Financial Group and all that they do. We ask that you continue to give them the strength and the wisdom and the knowledge to be able to impart that to us and all the people that they serve every day. We ask this prayer and a blessing upon each and every one of us as we depart, and go our separate ways. In Christ's name we pray. And everybody on the call said, Amen.
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 Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Lord.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
You're
you so much.
welcome.
Very
Look forward to hearing
informative.
from you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Yes.
You're
My
welcome.
people perish because of the lack of knowledge. Thank
Amen.
you for sharing.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Everybody have a
night.
good night.
Good night.
Good
Be safe.
night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.